Canadian wine lovers, we are live. We are live, and we are here to debunk the biggest myths about Canadian wine. And also, we're going to blind taste some wines and share all about our top discoveries, the rare wines of BC that are available right now.
I'm ready.
And lots of other cool things, our pan-Canadian updates and so on. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, Mira Boucher, everyone across the country. Cheers! It's a chilly day here in Summerland. It's finally winter, but I mean, there's some warm wine to keep us going. There's some amazing stuff going on. Just got back from an epic trip. And I mean, head down, planning the Pan-Canadian Masterclass, searching for some rare gem all over BC. And don't worry, everyone, we're going to bring you the same thing from Ontario very soon. It's not like I have a plan, but I wanted to start with BC. So yeah,
so what he's referring to, if you haven't seen it, is we basically, Carl did something a little crazy last week. He phoned up, 7 or 8 wineries and convinced them to give us some very rare wines that there's only like 6, 12, 18 bottles left. Many of them are really well aged, ready to drink, really fantastic wines. And
most of them are coming from the owner's collections or I mean, like,
so that's
these
what
are...
he means. We'll do that again, I'm sure, with some Niagara wines soon as well, like the rare wines of Niagara. But hey, it's been a crazy week for Canada, but especially like, I can't tell you how many posts I've seen of people saying, I want to drink Canadian wine. Which Canadian wine should I drink? I've seen so much of that this week, which we love. We love it. We've been doing this for 5 years. Canada makes world-class wines. So if you've just
I mean, pretty crazy, eh? I mean, at the beginning when we started 5 years ago, like how many times we had that, Canada, eh? Did they really make good wines? Or like all of the long list of questions that people had 5 years ago. And now people are like, no, I'm only drinking Canadian wine only. And you know about that California Chardonnay? This is something that absolutely floored me this week, okay? Because I have never seen that many requests for oaky California style Chardonnay. And I phoned up a couple of my friends who make wines. I said, guys, if you want to make $1 million, start producing a oaky California style Chardonnay, because people are asking across the country right now. And it's something that we've been making fun at for so many years, the over oaky Chardonnay, how much California has pushed the oak boundaries over the top. But you know what? If they sold millions and millions and millions of bottles over the years, there's probably a reason. It's because people are buying it and people like that. And you know what? I had that conversation with many Carl's Wine Club members, especially with Daryl, over the last couple of years, where we may have taken that un-oak or lightly oak trend a little too much. Because guess what? It's fucking good, a good oaky wine. It's good. It's good. I like my oak. You know what? I mean, so anyway, what an interesting week in the world of wine, in the world of politics. But we promise each other that we're not going to get into that. It's not our place. And it's not, honestly, it's not my... what I want to do. So let's stay with wine. what we do best here in Canada. And that led me to have some pretty, not weird, but evolved, my thought evolved for the Pan Canadian Masterclass about the format and what to do, who to bring, and all that. My mind's going absolutely crazy right now. So we'll talk about it a little later on. But Mira has spent couple nights up, like searching like crazy for different options for the Pan Canadian. And yes, finally, we got accommodation available. Two amazing vineyard houses really close from each other. And I mean, it's a start. It's a go. I mean, now it feels real, right?
So for people that don't know what we're talking about the Pan Canadian Masterclass. It's our third one we're doing this, where you can taste Canada's wines from coast to coast in person and meet winemakers. And it's happening in Niagara, June 21st this year. But because it's our third year and our members are super wine nerds like we are, it's become kind of a 4-day affair now, 3.5 days. So lots of fun wine lover things happening for Canadian wine lovers, June 21st and surrounding. So what I want to say, Carl, like I think what we really should talk about today, and I welcome everyone's comments and stuff. Yeah, sorry about that, Daryl. Yeah, but we got it all wrapped up. It's good. We have the vineyard houses, and we just got off the phone with K-Town and Karen and Jan, who are in as well, which is very exciting.
Hey, funny enough, Daryl, you're saying that. Yes, I know. She was supposed to work on the VIP Unlimited to send like the new, like use time to renew your VIP Unlimited and all that. The new now she's focused on the accommodation. So no, you're not gonna have to renew your VIP Unlimited just yet, Daryl.
No, Daryl already did, I think.
Oh, but yeah. Hey, there you go.
What I want to say is, there are 3 big myths about Canadian wine that we keep encountering over and over again. Besides the myth that all we make in Canada is ice wine, which is a big one. We did a quiz, you guys, about a month ago. And the first question in the quiz was, what kind of wine is made in Canada? Ice wine or a variety of different wine? Or only hybrids? And 50% or more of the people said ice wine only.
That's crazy.
So that's where we're at. When you hear, all this talk about, if I'm not buying international wine right now, or I'm not buying US wine right now, and you see all these posts about, well, what should I do instead? Like, people don't realize, we have to know that like half the people out there don't realize we make world-class wine in Canada yet.
Yeah, and we've been on the journey for a while now. It's been a while, and we have some amazing members supporting us and working with us, spreading the word on how great our wines are. And I want to ask a question in the chat here for people who are listening. To your opinion, what is the best varietal that we make in Canada? Okay, I mean, if people know me, you probably have a good idea of what I think. I've been pretty vocal about that, but I want to know your opinion. And if you want to be nerds and geek, you can also tell me a varietal per region. Let's say, okay, let's play that game. Naramata Bench. I believe that we make amazing Merlot on the Naramata Bench, right? So yeah, tell me. I want to see what you guys think. Okay, let's try that on the chat right now.
But yeah, we're preaching to the choir. But I think these are the big myths that come up. Like, we'll ignore that one with, oh, I didn't even know we make anything but ice wine in Canada. But there's also Canadian wines. Like, we can't ripen big reds in Canada or reds at all. It's just too cold. So that's another myth. There, as he's drinking a Malbec Syrah. The other myths are Canadian wines are overpriced. I can buy cheap wine from Chile or California, but Canadian wines seem overpriced. And the other big myth on top of that is Canadian wines are not cellar worthy. they're not ageable. Like if you're going to buy Canadian wine, drink it right away. It's not going to last. So these all break my heart because these are all big time myths, but you wouldn't believe how many people still think this stuff. So part of our jobs, Carl and I, is to break the myths. And I think that's part of what we're doing right now this week. I mean, quite a few members have taken us up on this feature that we have this week with rare wines of the Okanagan and Similkameen. Winemakers have reached into their personal cellars sometimes to give us 6, 9, 12 bottles of some rare wines that are aged pretty extensively. We had some in there going back to 2012.
Yeah. And these wines are not even close to be like on the verge of falling. I mean, like the it's too bad I don't have the bottle with me. I think the bottle, when you come back up, Mira, if you can stop by the wine wall, okay, downstairs, and bring me the Tightrope Syrah. So 2014 Tightrope Syrah, now 10 years old, Narramata Bench, Syrah fruits. Has more to go. I mean, it's super fruity. There's barely no tertiary aromas. This wine is keep going, and it's a 2014. 10 years old Syrah. Okay? So here is an example. Like the 2014 Tightrope Riesling, I mean, there's another 7 years to go at least in that Riesling and the richness of that wine. And you see, it's coming from a vineyard almost side by side on the Narramata Bench where Rieslings and Syrah cohabit. Isn't it weird from people from the old world where they have a Riesling and Syrah growing in the same vineyard and 10 years later, these wines still shining? That's what we do here in Canada. How fucking cool is that, right? So, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. So that this week was, well, last week and this week is just a perfect example. These are not all exclusively aged wine, but these are wines that are not on the market anymore and will not come back because they are sold out. They don't have any of these, like the 2020 Bushvine Syrah, which was one of Mira's absolute favorite wines. And Bushvine Syrah from Maverick from the Golden Miles has been, I've tasted 5 vintage in a row, and this wine, that Syrah from the Golden Miles, is one of the most consistently great and well-priced Syrah. Guess what? That 2020 was no exception. I gave it a 93 points, and they had 2 cases left. And they say, Card, if you want them, you're more than welcome to have them. And like, how cool is that? Like a Syrah that we're never going to come back see, and all of that. Like I mean, Tantalus with their 12 bottles of 2012 Riesling. I'm like, what? That is so cool. And the Tightrope, and to manage to have 1 case of the Painted Rock Red Icon was a heck of a trek. I mean, I had to be on the phone with John Skinner and to beg him. Oh, that wine was one of our top wine of the year. And said, Carl, I don't even have any in my library. You know, like these kind of cool stuff. I cherish the moment of negotiation with the owners of the people of the winery to get these wines. It was so awesome. And you know what's the best part of that? And I think, Mira, you were part of that. It's not to get, well, yeah, I think to get that answer, say, sure, of course, you can add X amount of bottle. It was a really cool feeling. But even better, it's when we cracked the 1 bottle that we had to taste it and score it and all that. That is pretty spectacular. So these wines are rare, are not going to be seen ever again. And if you have never tried like Courcelette and you would like to know what Courcelette in the Similkameen Valley can look like, but that 2018 Cap Franc is just such an outstanding snapshot of what you can expect when you purchase in the future a recent vintage, because that's the old exercise, right? Now I'm gonna get a couple of 2018 and we'll see. Well, that gives you the snapshot in the future if what the Similkameen can provide you So because like what 2018 now, we're talking about an 8-year-old wine. It's pretty cool. 8, 9-year-old wine, Cab Franc, not bad for a region or a country that people say, no, they can't age their wine. And it's not like if these wines are just like, no, they're just starting to get going. This wine, okay, that's Syrah Malbec from Da Silva, 2017 vintage. Just entering its prime window of drinkability. Just entering. Like this wine is open for how many days now? Since Sunday. It's Wednesday. I've been having a little sip every day, and just every day, this wines keep evolving. I give it a 93 points, and I'm sometimes like, yeah, maybe this one was a 94, for God's sake. I maybe have missed a point on that. What a freaking treat.
That's a trick that we learn from winemakers. Just if you want to get a glimpse into what a wine's future is, taste it on the second day after being open, the third day, the fourth day, and each day that it's open, obviously still with the cork on, but each day kind of represents 1 or 2 years of aging. So if you have it open for 5 days and it's still going strong, that tells you probably that can age for another decade.
So look, Mira, that's the one you have on your glass. I put a Gabriel glass. That's what it is. It's the 17 Malbec Syrah.
Yes.
And you taste, you smell the varietals in there, like that Canadian Malbec, that floral cassis, that graphite, and also like that Syrah pepperiness of the Syrah. This wine is just so good. I love it, and it keeps going strong. So anyway, that leads us all of that.
I'm going to come upstairs. I'm going to bring you 2 wines to blind taste. They are whites. And in the meantime, I mean, you asked a question before because you're thinking about the Pan-Canadian and maybe doing something a little bit interesting with varietals. Yeah. So Jim is saying Ontario Riesling.
I mean, it's hard to argue with you, Jim, on that. It's pretty hard to argue with you. I'll tell you one thing.
James here is saying all Canadian wines, but biased towards Cab Franc from BC and Ontario. And that's such a good point. I mean, Cab Franc, something that BC and Ontario make so well, right?
Well, that is so funny about the Cab Franc. We had that conversation for years, and like, yeah, it should be the Ontario poster child. Grape varietals, and like many people agree, many people talk about like this kind of a very healthy debate, and at some point someone told me, yeah, I agree, but how about BC? Cab Franc can be the poster child wine where it can flourish across the province as well. So Cab Franc is such a versatile, great varietal that, yes, it's so good from Niagara and Lake Erie North Shore, and even Nova Scotia. I've planted some Cab Franc vineyard at Benjamin Bridge. There's like a 15-year-old Cab Franc vineyard in there, but the BC, do not forget that BC. So that leads me to my idea of the Pan-Canadian format. I don't know, should I talk openly about it, or should I keep marinating in my head? And Mira, what's your take on that?
You are an extrovert, Carl Boucher. So if you marinate in your head, you will never know what you're thinking. So why don't you tell us what you think you're thinking, and we can help. Listen and clarify your thoughts. How about that?
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. And
but James, I'm going to bring you your blind tasting wine. So I'll
perfect. And Daryl, don't worry, Daryl. Hey, go ahead.
You said to bring you a bottle.
The bottle of Tightrope.
2014, Sarah.
Tightrope 2014. I think it's on the top of the wine wall downstairs. All
right, I'm coming.
If you can bring that up as well. Daryl, just to help you out here, don't worry about the Batchelder. I mean, we're gonna have them in feature when you come back from Tokyo, and we can manage your budget then. So don't worry. Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Gamay. That I know. So don't worry about that. If there's some stuff from Batchelder that you really want, really craving, we'll manage to get it for you. So because we're working with Thomas and Mary to put something together at some point when you are back from Japan. Okay, there you go. So my idea, Pan Canadian. For the people who attended the Pan Canadian, either the original session back 2 years ago or the 2.0 last year at Esther Creek, we choose 12 wines from one wine from 8 different wine regions across the country, and we talk openly about, okay, what is the Chardonnay from Prince Edward County? Why Prince Edward County? And this and that. And anyway, so that was kind of the format. 12 wines, 12 regions, 12 varietals, 12 wineries. So today it started a couple of days ago when I'm like, okay, the 3.0, after hosting it at Bellaterra the first year in Niagara-on-the-Lake, second, it was at Esther Creek in BC last year on the Golden Miles. And now we're going back to Ontario, Niagara, and Jordan. We're going to be at Sue-Ann Staff. So Sue-Ann got the first dip. Which kind of wine we're going to feature from Sue-Ann? I mean, it's pretty obvious. She's the queen of Riesling. So we're probably going to feature a Riesling from Sue-Ann. And I'm looking at my list of all of the wineries that I listed that would be worthy of an invite to present their wine at the Pan Canadian and all that. And I have, look at these wines. 2 wines, woohoo, woohoo. And I have Tantalus on my list. And I put like which grape varietal should they feature if they're coming, right? So I have Rieslings from Tantalus in BC, and I have Rieslings from Sue-Ann, and I'm like, yeah, I already have a Riesling there. And it come up to my mind, should I do 2 wineries with 1 grape varietals, 1 winery from the eastern part, 1 winery from the western part of the country, where they talk about the same grape varietals and how they make it on their side of the country? What's their vision? How do they work with Riesling on the Beamsville Bench? How do they work with Rieslings on the East Kelowna slope? So I'm debating. So what if I have 20 minutes on Riesling where Sue-Ann and David Patterson from Tantalus will be sitting in the front and talking about Riesling, and every one of you guys are tasting 1 Riesling from BC and 1 Riesling from Ontario, listening to these Riesling producers. 20 minutes later, boom, switch. We have 2 people from Chardonnay. Richard De Silva, come on up with, Thomas Batchelder, and we're tasting 2 Chardonnays. Talk about Chardonnay. Boom, 2 other grape varietals. Let's talk about Merlot. We have Cubby from Ferox, and we have someone from BC talking about Merlot from BC, for 20 minutes. So that's kind of my idea that I've been juggling in the last couple of days about maybe a new format where we can talk about 8 different varietals with 2 producers of the same varietals in 2 completely different regions. Think about that. Melissa Mouchadre from Mouchadre Vineyard in Lake Erie North Shore talking about Syrah, which I think their Syrah is off the chart. And Charlie Besser from Courcelette from the Similkameen Valley in BC talking about Syrahs. Can you have 2 regions completely different, Lake Erie North Shore, Similkameen Valley, both producing outstanding Syrahs, having these people talking Syrah? I don't know. That's something that I was talking about, thinking about, and I just wanted to throw that out there. And the thing that I want to avoid, though, is, this one is better than this one, because the goal is not it's not nothing about what we do with the Pan Canadian is a contest. It's all about alongside, right? Side by side. Like the difference between, not about which one of the two are the best. That's not, absolutely not. I really try to avoid that comparison. Like people compare and say, that we will never avoid that. Oh, I prefer this one from this one, but it's not about which one is the best. It's more about how different they can be, how different technique they're using, how the viticulture is different, the degree days for each region, and how stylistically these wines can be either different or similar. Because we can have two wines from two different, completely different part of the country who can be fairly similar, where the grape varietals just speak. And I don't know. So I've been thinking about that.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I think this idea with the side by sides, it's really cool. You know,
okay, let me tell you why I really like, because it's me and my wanted to have more and more people involved. Because what I love the most with the Pan Canadian, it's having all of these personality of the Canadian wine industry joining us and talking with each other and sharing their experience and having the member witnessing all of these conversations. That's my very, very, very favorite part of the Pan Canadian. So by doing it that way, I was looking at 8 different varietals, 2 per, so now I was at 16 invites. It's 4 more than my 12 originally, so I can bring more people. So I know, but my boss told me you need to be much more organized, because we cannot go for 4 or 5 hours or 5 hours rambling. And I was like, ooh, good, that might be a challenge here. But anyway.
That's okay. I mean, we're producing our first TV series right as we speak. The first 2 episodes will be done next week, but because of how Canadian broadcasting rules go, it goes through a whole process. So it won't air till September. But my point is that we are now producing and able to produce high quality videos. So my thought was, what if there is some video component to this? Because that way you can pack a lot into, let's say, like a 2-minute video that introduces each winery. And then you can reserve the time at the Pan Canadian to be a lot more about interaction between these winemakers, which I think is what is one of the most exciting things to witness when you're tasting these wines side by side, is hearing that winemaker interact with the other winemakers about that wine, right?
Exactly. Hey, you pour me 2 Chardonnays here.
How did you know they're Chardonnay?
I don't know, because they smell Chardonnay, for God's sake. One has more oak than the other. But yeah, why I know it's Chardonnay? Because it smells like Chardonnay.
Well, until we tasted, like, what, the last 3 years that we've done the Chardonnay tastings, we did like 40 Chardonnays this first year, like 65 the second year, and 112 this last year, all open side by side together, all live. So until we did that, I didn't really know what the difference between like a Chardonnay and a Pinot Gris. I had no idea, but now I know. To me, it's like this. There's a sort of flintiness to it, like.
I mean, Mira, we had a chef at home this weekend, right? And Mira opened the Wending Home Sauvignon Blanc, and so I wanted
much about Ontario wine. So
I was sipping on a great Ontario Sauvignon Blanc, but at the second that I got a nose of these two, I'm like, this is Chardonnay. Yeah.
I thought it would make your night.
I've been pretty sick in the last couple of weeks, and my last sip of Chardonnay that I had was in Monterey when I had when we smuggled Stratus 2021 unfiltered with us, and I tasted the Daniel from Mendocino Ridge, 94 points Carl's Wine Club and 94 points James Suckling live in this very show with the winemaker. So that's my last. It's been over 2 weeks, Mira, that I didn't have a sip of Chardonnay. 2 weeks without a sip of Chardonnay, and you put that in front of me, and you're not telling me what it is, and you wonder why. I know it's Chardonnay because I'm in a Chardonnay withdrawal right now.
There you go. So tell us about these 2 Chardonnays.
Okay, so on the right, my number 2 has more oak.
Okay.
Number one has a little bit more of a 20-mile bench smell that I call the classic 20-mile bench aromas. Okay. So
number 1 or number 2? Number 1.
Number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, number 2 are more is a little bit more oaky, a little bit more almond, cookie, popcorny. So that's the first smell, but when you look at the color here, I have more color on the number 1. Number 1 to me has more of the wild ferment than the number 2.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and for price points and scores, tell us. And I'm going to do my research because I don't know what these are exactly right yet. So.
Number 1, much more flinty, much more terroir driven. Chalky, minerality, salinity. This, to me, number 1 is more of a single vineyard expression.
Okay.
And number 2 is more of a oak-driven, oak spice, definitely, like cardamom, the white pepper, and the finish. So yeah.
Okay.
A bit more of a reserve Chardonnay, like a little bit more stylistically, and more of a number 1 is more of a single vineyard, more terroir expression.
Okay, interesting. And for price point, what would you say? I'm trying to find them right now. I don't even know myself, but what would you say for price point?
Number 1 versus. It's a serious question here. Number 2 is richer, bolder. So I would say number 2 is probably more expensive than number 1.
Okay.
We're talking $40 versus $28 maybe for number 1.
Okay. You know, more and more wineries are sending us stuff that's not available anywhere. So I think both of these are not available anywhere, but I'm going to see what I can find. Maybe a different vintage.
Yeah.
So you're going to say number 2 is more expensive than number 1.
I would say number 2 is more expensive than number 1.
You think number 2 is probably the more premium one?
More oaky. More oaky. Yeah, but number one is like finesse. Really, really, really finesse. Pinpoint.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that either of these wines are on are anywhere.
Yeah, those are concentrated more in a lengthy way. So yeah, I would say number 2 is more premium. Number 1 is more entry level.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think
if there's two different region, I would say number 2 is from BC, number 1 is from Ontario.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well, here's the kicker, because you said at first you said number 1 is from BC and 2 from Ontario.
No. Backward.
Number 2 is from Ontario and number 1 might be BC.
No, you're saying the same thing. Number 2 is from BC. Number 1 is from Ontario.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, because originally you said number 1, the one you're saying is maybe from Ontario. You said seems like the 20 Mile Bench.
Yeah, so that's my thing from the beginning. Number 1 is from Ontario, and it tastes more wild ferment, which remind me a little bit of the 20 Mile Bench style. And number 2, it's more oaky, a little bit rounder, bigger, bolder. And I'm thinking it's more from BC.
Okay. 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 Perfect. Perfect. So guess what? You're bang on about the 20 Mile Bench. But
am I?
Yeah. But they're both
so Rob Hammersley will be pretty proud of me on that, because we've been tasting Chardonnay from across the country a lot, and there's something on the nose that reminds me, and Rob picked it up pretty early on as well in our tasting adventures, that's a kind of a 20 Mile Bench smell, and that doesn't happen often. I called it on the nose. It's pretty cool.
You sure did. And they're both, I believe, from the 20 Mile Bench. So
okay. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Now I'm just looking in our emails, because maybe I have price points there. Since I did find one of them on the website. It was just kind of hidden, but I did find one of them. So you said number 2, you're thinking around $40 would be a good price point.
Yeah.
Well, right now it's 30.
Okay. Well,
so that's a good one in terms of price point. And I did find the prices here.
That's probably 2020 vintage.
Nope.
No. Good.
2021.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for the other one, just seeing, because they have multiple Chardonnays. So one sec. Okay. The other one price point is about $22, and you said 28.
Yeah. Okay. So I was off on the price point. I was too high on both.
Which is a good sign. Good sign.
Which is a good sign. At number 1 at 22. At number like $22 for that number 1. I mean, so to me, it's all about the concentration, right? Number 2 was much more concentrated. Flavors, aromas, more dense, more explosive, juicier. And when you get to number 1, it's a little bit more, I kind of know where it's coming from, but it's not as concentrated. Now you're telling me that it's $22. I'm like, this is a fucking good wine for $22. This is pretty darn good. This is 91 point minimum at $22. Absolute freaking lead. This is wow. And like I mentioned in my early comments, seems like it's a little bit more pinpoint. There's that little finesse, long finish, lingering finish. So for $22, are you fucking kidding me? This is really,
at one point you said this might be a single vineyard wine, and for $22. But yeah, I'll tell you, it's not a single vineyard. At least not that I'm aware of, because I think normally they put the vineyard on the bottle if it is.
Yeah. If it was single vineyard, there you have the vineyard designation for sure. So 20 Mile Bench might be from different.
Okay.
But also at $22, I suspect that wine to be at least a 500-600 cases, right? I mean,
probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. But can we talk about the oak, and then I will reveal the bottles for anyone that's been watching this comparison. Okay, so we'll talk about the oak. So you said you felt like number one had less oak, right? This is the less expensive one. So that would make sense now that we know the price points. Usually,
absolutely,
the more oak, the more the price point as well, because oak is expensive. And then you said number two seems oakier.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing, okay? I don't know what kind of oak, which tells us how important the kind of oak is, because you can have 2 years in oak with neutral barrels and it tastes very
No. There's new oak in there. It's like when Daniel, the winemaker in California, I was sitting side by side with him, and I had a wine with only neutral oak and a wine with new oak. And he said, I'll give you a hint to let you know which one is mine. Mine has no oak. Mine has no new oak. I'm like, okay, easy. This one is yours. This one is the other one. So when with number two, there's clearly some new oak in there. Absolutely.
So number one that you said has very little oak. It actually has 12 months in oak.
Yeah.
And number two that you said is oaky has 10 months in oak. But most likely number two had
new oak and number one is all in neutral oak, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
So there you go. So you have a $22 wine, a $30 wine, Chardonnays. Very nice. Here's the big reveal. It's kind of interesting, and it ties in with our plans for the Pan Canadian. I already revealed that it's both probably 20 Mile Bench vineyards, or at least for the blended one from multiple vineyards, it's probably at least the majority of fruits are from the 20 Mile Bench, because these wineries are pretty much side by side.
They all have to be 20 Mile Bench. The whole fruit. Oh, okay.
Right. So these wineries, I'm pretty sure, are side by side. They're both owned by
Moritas. Yeah.
So what you have is Redstone, and it's their it's the, what do you call this? Limestone vineyard. I mean, that's what's so special about Niagara and Chardonnay. There's this sort of limestone and clay soil that is so good for Chardonnay, right?
Yeah.
So it's the 20 Mile Bench VQA Limestone Vineyard, Redstone Chardonnay. And then the other one we think is a blend of different vineyards, because it doesn't have a vineyard on it, and it's only $22. But it does say VQA Niagara Peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're pretty much side by side, right? They're like neighbors on the 20 Mile Bench there.
Yeah. So you said, does it say 20 Mile Bench on the
It doesn't. It's not VQA 20 Mile Bench.
Right?
So the one that's Limestone Vineyard, yes, it's VQA 20 Mile Bench.
Yeah, and the Taws one
is just Niagara Peninsula.
So Taws, the Niagara Peninsula, that can come from all over Niagara. So you can, to my opinion, might be fruits from Vinemount Ridge appellation, from the 20 Mile Bench, from the Lincoln Lake Shore.
There you go. But still, like that precision you're talking about, which is really interesting.
Oh, this is fantastic. It's bright, it's crisp. So
both these wineries on the 20 Mile Bench, pretty much next door to each other, owned by the same family, and within walking distance of the accommodations we've booked for our group with the Pan Canadian.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Two great
wines. A visit to those wineries.
Yeah, and the Redstone, I mean, with the Redstone, is not as refined, but it's a bit bolder, and that the oak is more predominant. So in it, so I like it. Awesome.
They also have a pretty kick-ass restaurant on site at Redstone. So this is a walking distance to where we're staying, and that restaurant looks pretty spectacular. They have things like fresh shucked oysters and burrata salad on their menu, Carl, and tuna tartare and things like that. These are all my favorite things. So we'll see if we
absolutely can fantastic, amazing.
Yeah,
wood oven pizza.
Jeff are saying they have wood oven pizza. Well, that might be very handy too. Very close to where we're staying. I think it's like a 10-15 minute walk. So pretty good.
So we can stumble back home after a lengthy dinner and tasting.
Yeah, or we'll
So
take the Carl cab because Carl doesn't ever drink, so he can do a few rounds with the car.
absolutely,
1 minute drive.
100%, 100%. So that was a fun side by side. I like that. I like that. Thanks for Chardonnaying me.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that with my Chardonnay withdrawal after 2 weeks of no sips of Chardonnay. It was tough. It was tough. I mean, I was sweating. I was having nightmare at
Oh
night,
no.
and
Yeah, he's mumbling in his sleep. No, please bring back the Chardonnay.
yeah, exactly, right.
God bless license. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
So yeah. So that was my ideas that I share with you guys about maybe the not the new direction, but a improved format for the Pan Canadian Masterclass, which I think, and you know what I mean. Well, you know what I'm thinking, Mira. There's a few members who were part of both first and second edition, like Danny and Jeanette, who traveled. Um, Lorna was there for both. So we have some key members who were at both editions. Now I might place a phone call. Maybe I should call them and ask them for their opinion, because I don't want to change the whole concept just based on my personal vision. I would like to touch base with a bunch of different people, but I mean, that could
And
be
it would be
interesting.
fun too if we can soon enough. If we have, the more of the wineries we have confirmed, we can do a live with them and do some live brainstorming with them around this. I think that would be pretty fun.
More than that, also who were part of the first one, the first two.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That they're always like Keith Tyers, right? Keith always said, I would love for you to feature someone else from Prince Edward County, but I still want to be part. I want to come. I want to cook for you guys. I just want to be part of that.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, all of that. Anyway, we are head down into the Pan Canadian planning right now. I can't wait to talk with Sue-Ann in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of days or early next week to get going on that. But
yeah, it's pretty
exciting. Exciting. And now I have to say also that the day of touring on the Friday will probably be on the Beamsville bench, so right around the houses that we have booked. And I'm going to start approaching these wineries because, I mean, last summer, we were there in August, late August, early September. We toured Niagara on the Lake. So now we want to do a different region, and we want to take people to a different area. So, and I think the Beamsville Bench will be the place, like also because the houses are so close. So that will be great to, and like to abuse that strip right there and create that memorable experience and have some of the wineries in the area involved in our 2025 Pan Canadian Masterclass Extravaganza, the 3.5-day event that we're creating right now. So pretty cool.
And kind of informally also our 5-year anniversary as a club. Pretty exciting time because that's right around the time that we started Carl's Wine Club as well, 5 years ago.
Exactly. So if any of you members would have a business who would like to sponsor the event, let us know. We're talking partnership,
on board,
sponsorship, and all that. Talking about sponsorship, I want to mention one thing here is I'm playing with the app of Alfred right now. Alfred is an inventory system created by Quebecois company. It's one of the most performant inventory system app out there, and I've been starting to enter my stuff into it and trying to and they have some really cool feature.
Well, I think the coolest feature that I don't think any other app has, at least not in Canada, is that you can share your seller with others on the platform, and they're facilitating trades amongst members. So you can be like, oh, this part of my seller or my entire seller, I'm willing to share with other people using the Alfred app. And then you can say, I really like this wine. It's down to my last bottle. Does anyone else on the platform have this wine in their cellar? And you can buy it off them. And they've managed to do this legally. So the SAQ miraculously is on board. So the SAQ is all cool with this. They have a whole way of reporting the trade.
But the whole point with that, Mira, the SAQ involved, it's because at the very beginning, that platform was created for the SAQ, but they backed out of the project for lack of budget, and a private company bought it. And when with the transaction, they had a promise from the SAQ that they're going to support the whole project, and so that's how it happened. And
so
now,
I just think it's a brilliant concept, and imagine now that people are back to the drawing board about interprovincial trade barriers and more seriously talking about dismantling them. Imagine if we can introduce things like that. I think that's a really cool feature, to be able to see other people's sellers and trade amongst each other. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, and also another part that Alfred managed inventory system for like half of the stadiums in the NHL, and like the Montreal, the Bell Center, and the one in Los Angeles, and like they're involved. Like that Alfred app is really big into these professional sports, and the F1 circuits, they have all of they manage the whole thing, but now they're focusing on private collectors and private wine lovers. And here we are. We've been in constant communication, and I'm playing with the app right now, and they're interested in being part of the Pan Canadian as well. So super cool stuff here with Alfred. Stay tuned. I'm going to probably share my seller with you guys, showing all of the feature of that, because we got that question all the time, right? Which kind of inventory system people are using? So there are multiple options out there. Which one is the best? Sometimes it's about personal preference. Sometimes it's also about cool feature that these apps or software have. So anyway, so it's a little bit about what I'm up to right now with Alfred platform, which is really cool.
Very cool. Amazing. Well, great to see y'all. Cheers on the Canadian wine front.
Just give me 1 second, Mira, because there's a few bottles of that left in the rare wine of BC that we have available. And it's been open, this one, since last Friday. So
that's quite something.
That's quite something. No, this one has a little bit more tertiary aromas. It's a 2014, so 10-year-old. I gave it a 92 points at the very beginning when I tasted it and when I opened it. It's still aged gracefully. Look, okay, I was more than half of my bottle, so much more air contact in the bottle for 6 days now, and the wine's still, the structure is still there. So it's pretty cool. Obviously more tertiary, more oxidation, but the wine is still, and the texture is so soft on that wine. 2014 Tightrope Syrah. There's 4 bottles left from that offer. So if you're curious, get on the link that Mira just sent. It's a fun one. There's some great gem into that. So
amazing. Well, great to see y'all. We'll see you again next week with an interview with a winemaker, ironically, who used to be at this winery, right?
Nope.
No?
No, Flat Rock. Flat
Oh,
Rock
you're
cellar.
right. You're right. It was
Yeah.
Flat Rock. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Right.
And
The
yeah.
winemaker
Yeah.
that used to be at Flat Rock is now at our featured winery next week, which is a great one.
Well, it's not necessarily a winery. Let's say it's a school.
All right, we'll just come out and say it because we've said it before. It's Niagara College. We're excited to be featuring them the last week before that HST break finishes. So we definitely wanted to have an Ontario winery that week because that's where your savings are going to be the greatest.
Exactly.
And it's really exciting because there's some amazing wines in this feature, some very well priced, underpriced, don't tell anyone, wines in there, really great value. And also, we're supporting the students and the next generation of Canadian winemakers, which is pretty cool too.
Well, that's the really cool part of it, right? It's to promote the next generation of local talent from a school that has made a name. And Mira, we'll talk about it. Listen, you give me 2 more minutes so I can talk about it, because it's one thing into the progression of our wine regions, right? From like when Niagara started in the mid 80s, from the like when they ripped out all of the hybrids and the big promotion of vinifera, and after that, the next phase was to plant the right grape at the right place, and we went overseas and we brought a lot of talent winemaker from Europe, because where you used to find the best winemaker in the world, right? You were going to France, you were going to Italy, you were going to Spain, because that's where the great wine school were. Same thing, Niagara, BC, in Kelowna, in the Okanagan. And with time, the big company invested a lot of money into learning about the terroir, which grape to plant where, which grape will perform there. So that was a very big step into where our wine quality increased tremendously. Also, a big step that we took in the last 15 years, it's to develop our own local talent. And this will not have been possible without Okanagan College, without Brock University, without Niagara College. And what they're doing there to have our own kids learning our passion, learning winemaking, learning viticulture, learning everything they need to know to become world-class winemaker. Well, we have it at home. So it's really, really cool. So looking at the cellar at Niagara College and looking at their wine selection and the price point and who's in charge there with Alison Finley, I mean, she's a really known winemaker in the Niagara region, very talented lady. So Alison's going to be with us next week to talk about the program, to talk about the wine program at Niagara College. And it's really, really exciting to be part of that.
Yes. So awesome. So awesome. All right, Canadian wine lovers. It was great chatting wine with you tonight, Canadian wine. And we'll be back next Wine Wednesday, as always, at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern.
This is so good. This is so good.
That.
Oh my God.
Last year. I love that 2017.
Oh, this is so good. Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.